I know when you see Drive, you think aeroplanes and airport hangars, don't you? Well, it'll become clear in a minute why we are here. And I've got to be honest, I'm pretty excited about this episode that we've got in store for you this week. Behind me, you can see the car that we've got for this episode. It's the Kia EV6 GT. And if I could give you 2 words to describe it, they would be very and fast. And even for an electric vehicle, this is a fast electric vehicle. So what we're going to do, and one of the reasons we're here at the airport, is we're going to endeavour to experience and understand a little bit about G-force, which is what you feel when you stand on the accelerator pedal in an electric vehicle. It's going to be a lot of fun, so strap in and let's get into it. Why pick the Kia EV6 GT for this episode? Well, that's a very good question. And I'll give you the short answer. It's the most powerful and fastest Kia ever. Let that sink in. Most powerful, fastest Kia ever. This is a seriously quick electric vehicle. This car is all about speed and performance capability. Now, we know that the EV6 looks fantastic. In GT trim, certainly seems to be eye-catching on the road. We get stopped constantly. People want to know what it is, what it's like to drive. They want to tell us how good it looks. How does it work when you're out on one of our typical drive road trips? Well, in general, it's pretty good. It does feel heavy, and you do notice that it's a heavy vehicle if you really hook it in to some tight, twisty corners. But Porsche Taycan aside, that's pretty much the case with any electric vehicle. And despite being reasonably heavy, it does ride particularly well. It's quite well insulated, even though it's a little bit firm on the road when the surface is really bad or really chopped up. Everywhere else, it's comfortable, it's quiet, it's insulated, and it's really enjoyable to drive. The GT is the flagship of the new Kia EV6 range, and pricing starts from $99,590 plus on-road costs. It's the most expensive Kia ever sold in Australia, but it's also the most powerful Kia ever, with 430 kilowatts and 740 newton meters. 2 electric motors provide 160 kilowatts to the front axle and 270 kilowatts to the rear axle, which provide that hefty 430 kilowatt total, along with all-wheel drive, which is a must given the power on offer. The EV6 GT is fast too, firing from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in just 3.5 seconds. Top speed is limited to 260 kilometers an hour, and Kia claims 424 kilometers driving range from the 77 kilowatt hour battery pack. What we're doing on this drive is something I've wanted to do for quite a long time. I remember as a kid growing up in Sydney, you'd journey up into the Blue Mountains and you'd go to visit the Zig Zag Railway. It was a bit of a rite of passage. Everybody did it. School excursions took you up there. But for the last decade, maybe a little bit more than that, the Zig Zag Railway has been closed. It hasn't been operating, but it's about to reopen. So we're going to take you for a really enjoyable run along the Nepean River from Camden, up the foothills of the Blue Mountains. We're going to go up into the Blue Mountains, but not on the M4 and the Great Western Highway as we've done in the past. We're actually going to go up Bell's Line of Road and through Bilpin, which is famous for its apple production. We're going to take you to the Zig Zag Railway, and we're going to end our drive this week out in Lithgow, one of Australia's great inland towns, one with a lot of history and one with plenty of things to do and see. There's a very good reason that we love driving in this part of New South Wales. Obviously, when you head up into the Blue Mountains, and indeed when you head up into any mountainous area, you get that sense of elevation which brings with it the views, and the air's different. And, you know, now it's started drizzling outside. You could be driving through cloud that wasn't there an hour ago when you came up the mountain. You make your way back over and the whole environment's changed. And that in itself is really interesting and enjoyable. And I love experiencing that different environmental sense that you get when you head up into a mountainous area. But if you've never been up here, or you haven't been up here since you were a kid, or you're visiting from another state, I think this part of New South Wales is particularly enjoyable because there's so many different little towns and villages to visit. The roads themselves are fantastic. They can be enjoyable or challenging or fun, or you can go for a relaxed cruise if you like, the way we are now. And there's always something different to do at different times of year. It's completely different in winter as to what it is in summer. So it's a really enjoyable place to come and visit, but it's also a really enjoyable place to come and drive. Most Australians know about the Zig Zag Railway, but few know of its importance to rail transport in the state of New South Wales. Constructed as part of the main Western Line, it opened in 1869 and is an engineering marvel as it snakes its way down the steep face of the Blue Mountains. Once a working rail line, of course, it's now reopened to the public and is not just an experience of the grand old days of rail, but also a sightseeing highlight of any visit to the Blue Mountains. We're talking to Dan Zollfeld, he's CEO of the Zig Zag Railway. Dan, I'm pretty excited just to be here and see all of this going on because it's been a long time coming, I think, for the residents of New South Wales. I said before when we were in the car driving up here, this is a place that as a kid growing up in Sydney, you either came with your family, came on a school excursion, or you wanted to come.
Absolutely.
But now it's going to be open again, right?
Yeah. Some of my earliest and fondest memories as a child growing up was coming to the Zig Zag Railway.
Yep.
And we've missed a generation of children. And I think for me, the exciting thing is seeing what I got to enjoy as a young fella and seeing all the kids and all the families enjoy what we have to offer here.
I'd love to come here in the middle of winter, freezing cold, rug up, windows are open, you can feel the cold air. If you could only do it in winter or summer, when would you be here?
It's a very common misconception that the cab of a steam locomotive is the warmest place to be. Unless you've got the doors open and you're standing in the middle of it, it's just as freezing cold in there. So the particular locomotive we have in steam at present, and the locomotive we will open to the public with, was built in 1943 for the war effort.
Yep.
So she's done a lot of hard work and she's been around for a while.
And still going well.
And still going, yes.
Mate, I'm really excited. I can't say enough to people that they need to get out here to experience this because I remember it as a kid. I'm really looking forward to doing it again as an adult. Thanks for taking the time to have a chat to us. Let's go and have a look at some of the technology. Okay, let's switch gears. This doesn't effectively have a gearbox as such because it's electric, but metaphorically, let's switch gears and let's move across to family mode. I'm driving this on the highway now between 80 and 100 kilometres an hour. I'm doing it in eco mode, so I'm doing it in the most energy savvy mode that I can. We're averaging sort of low 20s to mid 20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres, which is about what we'd expect out here on the highway, but how does this behave as a family SUV? Exactly like any other Kia. I mean, if you jump into either a Kia Sportage or a Kia Sorento, this EV6 GT does exactly that family duty as easily, as effortlessly as those vehicles do. Now, it's obviously more expensive, but this is capable of just being an average family SUV if that's what you want it to do. It's obviously got all of the technology, all of the safety, all of the driving assistance aids that you would expect at this price point, but it's got the comfort, it's got the interior storage and space and usability, charging outlets, all those things that the family will need that you would expect of a medium to large SUV. And it does it all without necessarily doing anything silly purely because it's electric. It tends to do it in a way that makes sense, that's easy to access. We love the infotainment system, the screens, the controls, they're all really easy to use. And this does really sit as a useful, practical, and I think perhaps most importantly, easy to access family SUV, if that's what you want it to be. So, we say this is the fastest, most powerful Kia ever. What does that mean in the real world? Well, it means 430 kilowatts. That's a massive amount of power. 430 kilowatts. It's not much less than a V8 supercar makes. 740 Newton meters and 0 to 100 in 3.5 seconds. Now, 3.5 seconds, 0 to 100, not that long ago, was supercar quick. Actually, it was beyond supercar quick. So this is a genuinely fast vehicle. 2 motors, one on the front axle, one on the rear axle, and that means if you get off the road and you can properly experience the acceleration of this vehicle, you get the grip that you get with all-wheel drive, and it's just like you've been fired out of a cannon. It's absolutely unbelievable. Now, to take that 0 to 100 argument a little bit further, back in the day, let me say back in my day when I started in this industry, everybody, the performance freaks, everyone who was into affordable fast cars, used to talk about the Subaru WRX. Now, in 2012, a Subaru WRX STI, so not even the regular WRX, this is the STI, the fastest of the lot, used to do 0 to 100 in 5.3 seconds. So a decade ago, a fast, all-wheel drive performance sedan with a WRX STI badge on it used to get from 0 to 100 nearly 2 seconds slower than this EV6 GT, which effectively is an SUV that you can just drive the family around in. It's absolutely mind-boggling how far technology has come, but not only that, how fast these electric vehicles really are. Life is fast and convenience is a must, and visiting a BP Pulse, whether it's on your daily run or the weekend road trip, offers both at key metropolitan and regional BP retail locations. BP Pulse offers fast charging for EV drivers, and while charging, you can also take advantage of BP's outstanding food and drinks range. The friendly baristas make a coffee so good, it's guaranteed. Customers can also take advantage of the latest food options, from meat pies and sandwiches to sushi and fruit salad. There's something for everyone. For a quick, convenient stop, a top up for you and your EV, get fully charged and ready to go.
Hey, yo, big wave. Tell them I come.
My bestie and your bestie sit down by the fire. Your bestie says she want parties, so can we make these flames go higher? Talking about hey now.
Talking about G-forces is one thing, experiencing them is another thing entirely. And that's what I'm going to do right now.
Start my truck, let's all jump in. Here we go together. Nice cool breeze and big palm trees. I tell you, life don't get no better. Talking about hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now. I go, ane. Chucking more fina, anane. Chucking more fina, ane.
Okay, your mama ngwele. Step on the dancing floor. Hips be winding, detail rewinding. Take it to the island way. Okay, your baby mama. Put on your dancing shoes. One drop it, pop it low now. Take it to the max now. Jam in this small jam way. Jam in this small jam way.
My bestie and your bestie dancing by the fire. Your bestie says she want parties, so can we make these flames go higher? Talking about hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now. I go.
I often say, best day at work ever. I've got a feeling that this might go straight to the top of the list. It's going to be a month, I reckon, down the track, and my brain will still be trying to compute, first of all, how manoeuvrable this plane is, but just everything that was happening and the way that it was happening. Now, I know, before we have a chat to Craig, all of you are going to ask how you do this. So you go to Curtis Aviation, which is curtisaviation.com.au.
That's right.
And what
Yep.
can people expect, mate? What are they able to do?
Well, we've got a range of things that they can do. So they can do joy flights like we did
Yep.
in the pits today. They can learn to fly. We've got a whole different array of joy flights, harbour scenics,
Yep.
all sorts of stuff.
Well, I can tell you that part of it is unbelievable. So what we wanted to do, and you and I are going to go for a drive in a minute in the EV6, because I want to show you a little bit about what these electric vehicles are capable of.
Yep.
But aside from having a ball up there, I mean, I can now put my hand up and say I've seen the Sydney CBD upside down, which is pretty cool. Aside from that, and the fun that we were having,
Yep.
we wanted to experience some G-forces
Yep.
and understand what it is that your body does, because you get a fair bit when you put your foot down in an electric vehicle. But this plane is on another level entirely, right? So what are G-forces, first of all?
So G-force is that force that is pushing you into the seat, so it's trying to bring you back to Earth all the time. So if you think about it, you know, if you weigh about 80 kilo, we're at 1 G normally, but then every time we try and pull some G in the planes, well, we might be 2, 3, or what you experience, you know, 4.5 G today. So it's 4.5 times your body weight pushing you into the seat and trying to take you back to Earth.
Yeah, now you're not feeling that when you're upside down, for example, but I noticed a couple of times probably the strongest is as you're coming down out of a loop. You can really feel it dragging you down into the seat, right?
Yeah, that's correct, and that's where we get the maximum amount of G through the...
All right, so what I'm going to do, mate, really quickly, is put it in GT mode, and I'm going to give you a full sensation of what launch feels like. So full throttle, hard on the brake, and step off the brake. Isn't that crazy? Now that was only till about 80 kilometres an hour, and we're on a 100 kilometre an hour road, but you can really feel it, can't you? You know?
You can feel it, yeah. It's like being on a fast roller coaster.
And like you did to me, I didn't tell you what to expect. Just off we go. But that's the benefit, I think, of these electric cars, is that you've got a motor at the front, a motor at the back, all-wheel drive, you've got zero lag. So we were talking before about your aeroplane engine. It takes time to build up to get to peak. You got to get to, I think, 2,500 RPM, you said. This is peak power and torque from zero.
Yeah.
So you just put your foot down and...
Insane.
You want to have a drive?
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
Excellent. I'm going to put it back in eco mode while you're driving.
Cool. Don't trust me, eh?
I've seen what you're capable of, that's why. We've come to the end of another fantastic drive, and behind me you can see the stunning Lake Lyell. This is just on the outskirts of Lithgow. It's about a 10-minute drive. It is an absolutely beautiful part of this area, and if you love camping and water sports, you can get involved in that here too. In fact, some of the camp spots around the edge of the lake, they're some of the best that you'll find anywhere in the state. As for Lithgow, it's a sensational town with a lot of history, and I really do recommend that you come out here to check it out. We've enjoyed the drive up through the back of the Blue Mountains. I've been wanting to go back to the Zig Zag Railway since I was a little kid, and while it hadn't yet opened when we were there, we got to take a close look at what the experience is going to be like. I can't wait to go back as a passenger and experience it for myself, and I urge you to do it as well. Take the kids, take the family. You'll have a heap of fun, and it's a great day out. Plus, it's pretty easy to get to from Sydney as well. Kia EV6 GT, what a sensational electric car this is. It may not look it because you're looking at an SUV, but as we've found, this is just as comfortable doing a 0 to 100 kilometre an hour run on a racetrack as it is transporting the family around in style and comfort. If you're looking for an electric vehicle, you've got the sort of budget that the EV6 GT asks for, this is an impressive electric vehicle. In the meantime, everything that we've spoken about on this episode of Drive, that's over at drive.com.au, all the technical details on the Kia EV6 range. We'll see you again next week for another great drive. This week's drive started out in picturesque Camden, approximately an hour south of Sydney. Avoid the motorways as you head north, running along the Nepean River on the Northern Road. You'll skirt around the edge of Penrith, still on the Northern Road in the direction of Windsor. Turn left onto Hawkesbury Valley Way, driving through Richmond, Currajong and Bilpin. Bell's line of road will take you to the newly rebuilt starting point for the Zig Zag Railway ride, and from there you can head down into Lithgow to charge your EV. Next week, Emma discovers there's more to Byron than just the beaches, and there's more to Lexus than just luxury as she tours the northern New South Wales hinterland between Ballina and Byron Bay.